You were talking about how it was. You said you had in the past deviated from your scripts, or you had sort of approached things a little more improvisationally. But this was very carefully plotted.
Very carefully plotted, even though there was some improvisational work within scenes. I like actors to be able to fit the words to their own mouths. But basically, there was a kind of, not a religious but affectionate regard for the script, where it had been carefully plotted. The driving motorcycles through.
Yeah.
It had been carefully plotted for that construct of the audience knowing what the stuntman knew.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that's really interesting about the movie is how it depicts the filmmaking process. It also kind of deconstructs it and it idealizes it in a way. How did you sort of figure out what the balance was going to be? I mean, you know, for example, you have this opening scene, which obviously you have the smoke, and then you reveal this beach full of people who seem to have been dismembered, and that sort of gets revealed to the audience in a really clever way. But later on, you have this big stunt sequence, which essentially is shot in a way that I kind of feel like probably would not be shot that way, or I wonder, you know, you were able to shoot it that way at all. How did you decide what would be sort of left as movie magic, and how much did you want to sort of pull back the curtain on the process of breaking down how stunts are done, how they're shot, all that kind of stuff?
I did want to pull it back because I think there is a fascination in the process of movie making on the part of everybody, including me. And I'm not afraid of revealing it because I don't think that spoils the fun. When you get involved in the story, you're involved. And if it's well done, the magic makes it reality. The scene you brought up was a very interesting one because it was the only accusation I got on the picture. The picture was almost blameless, except some people, a couple of astute but persnickety critics, decided that I had somehow tricked the audience in that scene, because them getting into the horror makeup and getting buried in the sand was done off screen. Well, it was very deliberately, meticulously handled that way. Whether I turned out to be right or not is an interesting question. I think I was. The plan was that the big cloud of smoke, big explosion happened, covering the beach with smoke, during which time this could have happened. Is it likely that it happened that way? Not really. Probably, but they would have taken their time to do the makeup and bury everybody correctly, and it wouldn't have happened under a cloud of smoke. But that's the way it happened here. There is such a thing in the syntax of film that's become very accepted, called the time cut. When I started making films, if you walked up to a hotel, you entered the doors, walked through the lobby, went to the elevator, went upstairs, put a key in your door and opened it. Now, you see the front of the hotel, you start towards the door, and then you cut to the key going in the door. All of the rest has been cut out, called a time cut, but the audience accepts it as if it were continuous time. We realize time has passed, but it's obvious that this is what happened, and we don't in any way get jarred out of the story, because that is now part of the syntax of cinema. In this case, we had a time cut. A cloud of smoke covered the field, and then it cleared, revealing this horror scene. A perfectly legitimate thing to do. However, I left the audience with a slight sense that, gee, maybe I've been tricked. Putting them on guard for the rest of the picture to feel like they might be tricked, the theme of the film. illusion and reality. Nothing is what it seems. In every scene, something turns out to be not what is expected. And it seemed the right state of mind to have your audience in to enjoy the film and examine its possibilities. I mean, it wasn't done exactly that way when I shot it. This is the kind of thing you hone in the editorial. I've always said you shoot 3 films. Or you don't shoot 3 films, you make 3 films. The one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you edit. And they better all be different, otherwise you're not doing a damn thing. You're not contributing.
Well, as I was watching it again yesterday, Steve Railsback has this real kind of febrile energy. I mean, it seems very sort of unpredictable. And I know you saw him in the movie about Charles Manson, and that was one of the things that that first introduced him to you. But why was that kind of energy important, or what was it about his, on-screen persona that you thought would be right for the main character of this movie?
Okay, good, interesting question. That information about Manson isn't correct. When I interviewed him for the picture, Manson was in the cutting stages. I hadn't seen any of it yet. Had I seen it, I would have been sure he was right. But as it was, I told him he had the job anyway when I first met him. Because, first of all, as an actor, he takes incredible chances. They're dangerous chances which actors are always afraid to go out of their depth. His depth is enormous because he works so sincerely and deeply in developing the character and becoming the character. So his emotions, his IQ, his responses are available as the character. And he does his homework religiously. And because he's not afraid to take the chances and usually makes spectacularly good choices. I recognized that, fortunately, correctly, in our first 15 minutes of work together when I read him for the part, and was able to say with certainty afterwards, "You're Cameron." And that was great fun for him to know that fast.
Well, in the rooftop chase scene, what's really interesting is that as much as obviously that would have needed to be rehearsed, he's sort of almost discovering a lot of these things as they're happening. What sort of choreography was involved in a sequence like that, where you are trying to keep it fresh for the actors, that that they're able to communicate a sense of discovery, at the same time making it believable for the audience, and then obviously being able to make sure that it's controlled enough that it's safe and follows sort of the trajectory that you want it to?
Well, of course, that scene looked like it was all happening in continuity. I think it was 5 days of shooting on that rooftop. And so, although I certainly planned all of the stunts and the shots that go with it, although that's open to variation and open to multiple camera work. I usually have, in a big action sequence, 5 cameras working. It's a matter of selecting locations where there'll be good stuff happening in as many angles as you can get, which are usable with each other. I think so much of it is the capability of the actor. Not to be tricked into immediate response, but a good actor will be able to respond as that person would. With Steve, it's always true because of his, as I said before,